Hello and welcome to UK Horror Scene. I'm Tony. This is the crew. Wave. Tonight we are chatting with Kate Shenton. I know she's a little bit weird. She thinks Gimps are sweet. Ain't that a treat? But we're hanging with her anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, creatures of the night, Kate Shenton. Kate Shenton, ladies and gentlemen, or gentlemen, we haven't got any more ladies here, just Kate. Anyway, so we usually have more ladies, but we're a bit short. Anyway, we'll start, we were talking a bit earlier, can we start with on Tenterhooks?
Yeah, of course.
Tell us a bit about that.
So, On Tenterhooks was my first feature film. Yeah. It's a feature documentary and it's about people who practice human suspension. And for anyone who doesn't know what human suspension is, it's the art of piercing hooks through your flesh and then being pulled up into the air and you're suspending just from the hooks. So I kind of followed different groups that did this. I followed groups in London, I followed a group in Croatia, and I went to the Oslo Syscon, which is one of the biggest suspension events in the world. And it's a very, very raw documentary. It kind of feels like a very well shot home video. And it was literally just me, a camera and a shotgun mic, and just filming different people as they did their suspensions, interviewing them, chatting them, and also doing a suspension myself, because I really felt in order to film this film I kind of needed to understand what it was that, you know, I kind of needed to walk the path I was following and understand what it was I was filming, and that definitely changed the perspective of the direction of how I took the documentary once I did that. So yes, it is available on DVD and on iTunes and at Amazon's. Shameless self-promotion, just going there. But yeah, there we go guys. Yeah. You can buy it. It is a physical thing you can buy.
No, I haven't seen the feature. I've seen the original short that you did.
Yes.
Which was following a guy called Damien.
Yes.
Around, and that was his first suspension, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Has he carried on doing more, or?
Yeah, he's done. I'm still in touch with Damien. I'm still in touch with quite a few of the suspension people, and he's still doing suspension. He's still being Damien. I think with people who do suspension, like some people end up just doing it once, some people do it a couple of times, and then you have the people who have done it. I think the record is over 200 times now. Which is held by Rolf, but I don't know. Maybe someone has topped that. I mean, for me, it was definitely a one-off experience. I know Damien has done it again, and I think will continue to do suspension. It was definitely a very, very positive experience for him. But I don't think there's anything wrong with just doing it once. Like for me, it was a very important experience. I definitely would not ever go back on it. I think it changed me a lot as a person, but I kind of, I'm just like, I'm okay, I'm good. I don't particularly want to go down that route again.
I mean, if you go onto Kate's website, which is www.kateshenton.com, another plug, why not, let's go for it. You can see the clip of you doing the suspension.
Yes.
Which, and we were talking about this before we started recording, it's very uncomfortable to watch. I'd imagine for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And especially because you can see the sheer discomfort in your face and the worry in your face, the anxiety there, just before it goes up. And it was very brave of you to share that. It was very brave of you to do it in the first place. Brave or insane. One of those.
I'm not going to lie, there was a point when I was sitting on the chair, because it took, the clip in the film is about 8 minutes, which tracks the whole suspension. Yeah. But there was kind of, because it took about 2 attempts to get up, I'd done 2 attempts to get up in the air and I still couldn't get up, and there was kind of a point when I was sitting on the chair I don't think I want to do this. I think I just want to go home. But then I kind of thought, if I didn't do this, I wouldn't be able to make the film how I wanted it.
Yeah, no, and I completely understand your reasons, and I think that, again, it was a gutsy thing to do, to put yourself out there, to not just go and look at these people and speak to these people, to actually experience what they experience. But how high did you actually elevate in the end?
I have no idea. Not very high, I'd say a couple of feet or something. And I was only up for about 3 minutes. For me, because what happened with me and with everyone, I think it's a different experience and you react very differently to it, and that's kind of what I wanted to come across in the documentary. I'm always hearing the question, why do people do this? And it's like, well, everyone does it for a very different reason and a very personal reason. I've not heard anyone say the same answer. For me, when I did a suspension, it was literally like when I was up in the air, I felt like this, because getting up was pretty painful, and then for a little bit I was in pain, and then I just felt like this cool breeze going from my toes all the way up to my body, and I didn't really feel like I was in my body anymore, and I wasn't in pain anymore, but I also kind of felt not like I was in the room anymore. It was so surreal. Me being the scaredy cat that I am, I was just a bit like, okay, I want to come down now. I get it. I understand. But it was a very overwhelming experience, and I kind of cried for a long time afterwards. I felt like a big wall had been broken down.
I can imagine that's very emotional, actually. I mean, I felt emotional watching it, and I hadn't even met you.
It was emotional. I think that's the best word I can describe when talking about it. It's like, it's impossible to really describe it, and it's impossible to describe the feelings, but my personal experience was, it was an incredibly emotional experience.
Are you glad you did it?
Yes, definitely glad.
Yes, you did it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of those nice things that every time you hit something that is big and scary, or you're in a situation where you don't feel that you're in control, and you're feeling a little bit vulnerable, you kind of can just look back and go, well, you know what, I had 2 hooks in my back and I got pulled up into the air. I can deal with anything, it's fine. I can deal with it.
Can you feel them pulling on your skin then? I mean, is that painful when they start lifting up? Because I imagine when it goes in at first, it's quite...
Actually, I didn't find the piercing that bad. I didn't find it... Luckily, it was a very fast piercing. Like, it was very much like... what I kind of found more painful was actually... It was the point when you were on your tiptoes and your body was being supported... your body was being supported just by the hooks and your skin. That, for me, I found very painful. And for me, and I imagine I've got from a lot of people as well, that's kind of the point that you have to get over to get up into the air, because it is painful, and different people react to that in different ways. And even I have seen people who are very experienced at suspension who still sometimes struggle getting up, but then of course once you're up there it isn't painful, and like it's not, suspension isn't about the pain, and everyone always focuses on the pain. It's like, oh my gosh, the pain. Actually, it's kind of about the point after the pain. That's
you do. I mean, and you show that as well. I mean, I think especially in the short with Damien, you can see that he just seems so at peace once he's up there, because even he seems very nervous. He's very nervous at the beginning when he starts going up. And he's actually he was really excited about doing it beforehand. So when he's going up, you can see the anxiety's there, the worry's there, and he says his legs are shaking. But once he's up there, he just seems almost at peace. And it's almost, I think what it is, I don't know if, maybe it's just my weird head, I don't know, but it's almost like they're angels once they're up there, and I wonder if when they're back, because they're not supported by a harness, and it just feels like, it's almost like wings, that pinch.
It does feel, I think it's the closest sensation you can feel to actually flying, because you don't feel the hooks. You feel like, for me, it felt like a clamping sensation on the back, which is similar to what Damien said, it feels like a clamping sensation on the back, but you do kind of feel like you are suspended in the air. So it can, and of course, like, I think quite a big thing for a lot of people is to try and get a rig as tall as possible, because the higher you go, the more you feel like you're just suspended in air, that you're flying. Yeah,
I mean, it's obviously quite an uncomfortable subject for some people, which is something I know you like to delve into, but we'll talk about your other shorts in a minute. Did you find that when audiences are watching the film, they find it uncomfortable as well, or some members of the audience?
What I tend to find is the first 10 minutes is when people really struggle, but I kind of edited it to be a little bit more full on than the rest of the film, because I kind of felt like, if if you're going to watch this film, you need to acclimatise to this as quickly as possible, because this film isn't actually about the hooks. It's about the people who get suspended, because it's the people that are the most interesting thing about suspension. Once you've seen about 10 or 20 suspensions, you acclimatise very quickly to it, but what's always interesting is the people who are drawn to it and their attitudes, their philosophies, the reasons why they do it, their outlook on the world, and that's what the film is actually about. So you tend to find people really freak out at first, and then they kind of settle and acclimatise to it. There are going to, of course, be a lot of people who will never be able to watch it and have I've had plenty of people like, Kate, I'd love to watch your film, but no, just no. But that's fine. Like, I wouldn't want anyone to force themselves to watch it. It's the kind of film that if you're drawn to it and if you're fascinated in it, then you'll enjoy it. But if you really are that freaked out, then, you know, maybe give it a try. I'd quite like you to give it a try, but it may not be the film for you. Like, it's not for everybody, but what I can say about it is I think most people, if they watched it, would very quickly acclimatise to it. It's not a freak show or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I've yet to see the feature, although I will watch it. And I watched the clips because I knew I was going to be meeting you, so I wanted to see what it was all about. Yeah. But I made the mistake of watching your bit first, and then I watched Damien's short. And if I'd watched the short with Damien, I think I would have been a lot more at ease watching your experience. Because again, I think by the time Damien's suspended, you're thinking, oh come on, let's see it now. Let's see what's going. Let's see what it's like for him. Because he seems like such a nice guy, and because he explains that, because he does the fire eating and he does all sorts of stuff. And obviously for him, it was just about taking it to the next level and pushing himself that little bit that further. And he did genuinely seem quite happy at the end of it. He seemed very, very at peace. You can see his face change from the moment he starts to elevate. He seems very anxious. And when he's up there, and he suddenly relaxes and they're spinning him around and all that. And you're still thinking, my God. But for him, it's a really nice experience. So I think if I'd have watched that, I think I would have been a lot more at ease.
I mean, my suspension is actually at the end of the film, so I don't think it would be a good thing to start the film on. I think you do need to watch the whole of the film to understand the bit at the end, to understand that experience, because otherwise if you just watch mine, you'd be like, what are they doing to this poor woman? But of course, like, when you watch the whole film, it all links together.
And it's had a great reaction from critics and the reviewers. They've all really taken to it.
Once they got over that, I do remember there was one critic who, when it came out of Fright Fest, he reviewed it, and I just caught on Twitter that he was watching it, and it was like literally like every 10 minutes was like, I need to pause it, take a break. I need to pause it, take a break. I need to pause it, take. But he ended up really loving it. Like, as I say, like, as with people reacting to suspension differently, people are going to react to the film. I haven't really heard anything negative. I haven't heard anyone, like, I think people are surprised when they watch it. I think they think it's going to be some sort of freak show, and often these kind of films can be like that. They can be quite gratuitous. They can be a real, oh, extremist. This film very much goes the opposite to that. So, as I say, like, when people watch it, I think it does surprise them, the kind of film that it is.
No, it's definitely, I like the short, I like the clips. I mean, I will be watching it, and I think, again, judging by your other films, which I'll talk about now, you do like to tackle quite dark subjects and quite uncomfortable subjects. You obviously go, well, that's what I want.
Yeah, well, that's just me. Like, I'm not someone who's going to write a romantic comedy or make a talking dog film. Like, I like to look at the more odd side of life, the more unique side of life.
Gimp is almost a romantic comedy.
Yeah, Gimp's another one where it is at heart quite a sweet film. I mean, I love like Charlie Chaplin comedy. I love that kind of silent, and I really wanted to play around with doing a silent comedy, but I also really love Gimps. Gimps are really, really cute, and I've always kind of felt, ever since Pulp Fiction, that Gimps are quite cute. Like that, I know people get really freaked out by that scene, but when I first saw that scene, I was like, oh, the little Gimp. you know, poor thing in the cupboard. So it kind of is just a really weird thing. But I kind of wanted with Gimp to make a film which, because in many ways there's so much sexual content in that set, but it's the least sexy film in the world. It is just a Gimp who is trapped and there's an alarm clock going off, and you know, at the end of the day it's not a sexy situation, but it is just a Charlie Chaplin comedy, and he is the most sweetest, like, he's the sweetest thing. And actually the Gimp is Damien from On Tenterhooks.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, so I don't know whether I should say it. No, he's not.
That's great.
But yes, Damien is the Gimp from is the Gimp. So because Damien's an actor, and that's kind of like how we knew each other.
He does come across really sweet and likeable in it. I mean, even though you can only see his eyes, obviously.
Oh, the eyes were a big thing. We spent a lot of time working on eye acting, because it was like, well, you've got a mask on, and Damien's very really loves mask acting and doing that kind of, you know, using his physicality and his body to portray performance. But it was just like, the sweetness has to come from those really, really innocent eyes, because it is an innocent film in a very seedy setting.
No, it is. And I think that's how you get away with a lot of the stuff you do. I mean, like I'm trying to think, there was Gimp, but especially with that one, and then your earlier stuff, Bon Appetit.
Yeah.
Again, it's quite dark. There's a lot of very near the knuckle stuff going on, but it's done quite lightly, and it comes across very nicely. Saying Gimp, he comes across he is like a silent movie character. Yeah, he just really takes me. You really feel for him at the end, because he's really suffering, and the body language is all played very nicely.
And it's like, you know, you are meant to sympathise with him, because, you know, he's a lovable Gimp. He's lovely, and it's just misfortune. So I like balancing like darkness and lightness, and I think comedy, and particularly dark comedy, there's such a beautiful, you can get away with more, and you can raise some very some powerful points through humour. And I think it is kind of not a way to get away with things, because it isn't about getting away with things, but I think there's a lot of fun to be had between the balance between, you know, going like, oh, actually, if you really wrote this down on a piece of paper, this is really fucked up, but then going, oh, but it's okay because he's a lovable Gimp, and he's, you know, and it's like, I'm very interested in that balance between comedy and tragedy, light and dark. I don't like things to be set in one category. I don't want to just do it, oh, this is a light-hearted comedy, or oh, this is a horror film. I like to mix and match a lot of different elements and try and get as many layers in there as possible.
So who were your inspirations then? I mean, are there any particular directors that are going back into your childhood or something? If you were watching, you were thinking, oh, that'd be great.
I mean, I always sound like such an idiot saying this, but I think if I was gonna pin one director who's the reason that I got into filmmaking, I was the biggest Tim Burton fan when I was a teenager, and I know he's not the greatest director, and I know he's made a lot of rubbish films recently, and he's always made a lot of rubbish films, and all of his work is very flawed, but there was something that I really resonated with, and I think if you look at my work, there is a lot of Tim Burton inspiration there, because it is that playing with light and dark. It is taking normal situations and making them surreal, or taking surreal situations and making them normal. So I think in terms of like real childhood inspiration, I would say like Tim Burton. I
can get that. I mean, yeah, again, Burton, he made some...
Oh, he's made some awful films.
What? He gave us Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is still very popular.
Yeah, like he's made incredible films, but like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I have kind of stopped watching his recent stuff come out, because it just hurts too much. It's like, what are you doing?
He's destroying the man he once
my childhood. Like, stop making me feel ashamed to say that I love you. Stop it.
So was there any particular film of his? That means we're getting to a good time point now.
Oh, okay.
It's a brilliant werewolf impression. It's not a real werewolf. It's
a werewolf impression. Oh gosh, right.
Could you not tell?
Why is there a werewolf in the room?
We have it for time because we have to pay. The meter runs out.
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
All the lights will just suddenly cut out and we'll be talking in the dark, which is fine.
Okay, cool.
Completely different style of interview. We don't do those ones. Although we might. Why not? We can adapt. So was there a particular Tim Burton film?
I would say Nightmare Before Christmas is still probably up there as one of my favourite films. There was a point where I did know all the words and all the songs and once proved it to someone and they never ever forgave me for that hour and a half of their life of me so I think that one particularly has a very personal place in my heart.
That's probably a popular one amongst most people.
And I know he didn't direct it before people said he directed it, but he spent 10 years creating the whole world.
No, it's certainly his child.
It's like it was definitely his child. So, but yes, I'd say that would be my favourite Burton film.
Great. Let's go on to crew. Any questions from the crew?
Yeah, would you like to sing a little song of this movie or?
No.
Okay. Are you? When you create a movie, are you waiting for some expectation of your fans to react? Do you want them to react in a special way? When are you looking at them like how are they going to react?
I think with every film you have no idea how people are going to react to it. I think even though I do believe that you make films for an audience, I think you kind of, when you're making them, you have to put that to the side because otherwise you're not going to make everybody happy. And particularly if you're making the kind of things that I make, you're definitely not going to make everybody happy. But that's okay and that's fine. I think as long as someone gains something from your film, then it was worth all the pain and all the effort of making it. I hope people find my work entertaining or interesting. I think for me, I just want people, I want an audience member to gain something. I think a lot of cinema now is kind of like you sit, you watch it and then you leave and you don't really talk about it or think about it and you completely forget about the whole film. And I think for me, whether someone loves it or hates it, and I'm perfectly fine with people hating it, that's okay, I don't mind, but as long as it's as long as it causes a discussion or a chat, that's for me the kind of response that I would like.
Thank you.
Hi there, Ivan Trooper. I was just wondering, hope you can understand my French accent. I was just wondering, are you a vegetarian or have you ever thought about becoming a vegetarian or vegan? Just pondering that question because of the movies that I have watched previously about food.
I tried going veggie and I failed quite miserably. I just lived off cheese, basically. I was just like, my next film that I'm making is definitely on the cuisine-based genre. It's a horror comedy set in a Mexican restaurant between about two waitresses and the very cannibal stuff that they get up to, that's definitely not suitable for vegetarian. Well, that's kind of the tagline we're going with it, but I do enjoy my meat a little bit too much to go vegetarian.
To understand what he's talking about, check out her film Bon Appetit, which is on her website. Because that's which is a good film, but again, there's a couple of moments where you think.
There's a few. I'd actually say the film, out of all my work, the film that's probably got the least moments is the feature film that I've just finished, which is Egomaniac, which definitely goes down the more comedy route than the horror route. It's still a very dark film. I would actually argue out of all of them in many ways, that's by far the darkest and the closest to the bone, but that's not because of the blood or the gore, it's more because of the subject matter that it is discussing.
Cool. And when is Egomaniac coming out?
Well, when I have distribution, so I don't know, we finished the film a month ago.
Okay.
So we're just starting the distribution and the festivals and starting to pull the strings together. So hopefully you shall be able to see it very soon.
I'm sure it's anything like your other work. It'll be fascinating. But I have really enjoyed the other stuff actually. I loved Gimp. I thought Gimp was a great little film, very amusing, very sweet and funny. So you've got that one, and then the meat eating cannibalistic waitresses. What's that one called?
That's called Bloody Burrito.
Bloody Burrito. That's at the writing stage at the moment, isn't it?
We've just finished the writing stage, so we're moving into development, which is very, very exciting. I'm very much looking forward to pulling it together. It's been a project that I've been writing for a while and has gone through several, quite a few different drafts, and it was kind of based on my time of being a waitress. I was a waitress longer than anyone should have ever been a waitress, but it kind of just worked out that way. So I've kind of taken all those experiences, and I would say in terms of the kind of gore factor, I don't think I can go much further than this. I think this is it now. I think after this it's like, no, I've reached my limit, but it's a fun film. And I'm very, very excited about making it.
What do you find is the most difficult part of the process of filmmaking?
I think all the processes have challenges in their own way. For me, I would say I'd probably find the writing the most difficult. I think that's the time I go the most crazy. I think I tend, it's...
You can tell with the actual films that you probably do go a bit crazy with the writing.
Yeah, you kind of I know, and I know the script for Egomaniac. I wrote that script in a very, very short space of time because it's based on my own personal experiences on the film industry, and it's an alter ego character of myself, so it's a hugely personal film. And it was written in about a month, and it was just quite a crazy headspace to be in, which is fine because at the end of the day you are creating characters and you are putting voices into them, and they have to be real and believable, and the only way they can be believable is if they're real. And I think to write, for me, it can feel like you have to go to quite a deep place and sometimes a dark place to get what you need out, which can not always be the most pleasant place, but is a necessary place to go to. So for me, I'd say the writing is that's the hardest part for me, definitely.
Yeah, so what advice would you give to aspiring filmmakers out there?
I would say just keep going. This isn't an easy industry, and you get so many knocks, and I'm always getting knocks. I'm still getting knocks. And it's very easy to give up, and it's very easy to talk about making a film, and it's very difficult to make it. And my advice to everyone is just go out and make it. And if you're finding a certain path or a certain route isn't working, then go down a different direction. Think outside of the box. One of the reasons Egomaniac got created was because I was having so many problems trying to push another script of mine, which I've now kind of scrapped. I'm like, no, I don't want to see this thing again. And instead of getting that script made, which was just looking impossible, I was like, right, well, let's write all the experiences of trying to get that script made. So it's like, there's always a way to get a film made, there's always an approach, but sometimes you have to go this way instead of this way, and sometimes you just have to take a brave step, do something completely different. And I would also say, be true to yourself, because you can hear a lot of different people telling you different things about what makes a film sell, and there is a lot of relevance to that, there is a lot of importance to that, but at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to have to sit and look at your film, and you're the one whose name's going to be attached to it, and you're the one who's got to stand there and go, this is what I've made. And I think you have to make sure that you are making something that you're going to be not even proud of, just happy to have your name attached to it.
When you were just talking there, I'm just interrupting, but when you were shameless.
Shameless
I wasn't getting
interruption.
enough time to myself.
It's because I talk so much. I mean, if you get, I can't help it. I'm a
It's fantastic. That's what it's all about. That's why we wanted you here. But one of the things I started thinking about when you just started going through all of that before you came up with Be True to Yourself, I think that's something that's very, very true of your work, is that you are very, very true to yourself, and it comes through. Luckily, you're very, very talented as well, because it comes through in the quality. And that's all right. Past compliments.
A little ego
As soon as I interrupted you, I thought I had to cover it up somehow.
I forgive you now. That's all good.
But I do think it's very, very true of your work that you don't. It doesn't feel like you've gone out to make it for a demographic. It doesn't feel like you've made it for anybody else other than what you wanted to see. That it was your vision. It was what's in your head and came out on the page, and you made the film that you wanted to see. And I think a lot of the time, especially with mainstream cinema, it gets really, really lost because they start making films for an audience, and it feels quite vacuous and quite empty and without heart. And I think that's something I really liked about your work with Gimp, with even with Bon Appetit, and especially with the short version of on Tenterhooks, is there was always a heart there. There really felt like there was a heart there, and there was a caring soul, and that really carries you through. So it gives you the leeway to get away with an awful lot.
Get away! You act like I'm really naughty or something. It's just like,
watch the films, see who you agree with.
Gosh, again, they're not that bad. Like, they're not that bad. I think there are different. As I say, it's about being the filmmaker that you want to be and being true to yourself. I have tried to write a mainstream script. I tried really hard. I got asked. I mean, I've been asked to write a Talking Dog film a number of times, which don't get me started. That's a whole different discussion. But like, you know, I have been asked to do something more mainstream. I have tried so hard, but every time I try, I end up reading back and it's like, this has just got really dark. This is not family entertainment.
I think what it is, you take dark subjects and they don't feel like dark subjects.
But I think it's also like at the end of the day, my mind works in a certain way, and I think when I've tried to go against that, it just doesn't work. It's just not, and it doesn't work because my heart's not in it and I don't care about it and I'm not feeling it, because at the end of the day, when you produce your best stuff is when you are being who you are. And I think with every film that you make, you have to give over a section of yourself. You're putting a bit of your soul on screen. And if you're going against that, then of course it's not going to work. Of course it's going to fall flat. And I think, and that's, I mean, yeah, and there is a lot of pressure to be a certain, people can see that you're good at filmmaking, and there is a lot of pressure to produce a certain kind of film. And I think it is just, as I say, my biggest advice to everyone is, be true to yourself and do your own thing.
Good, am I running out of time, Kate?
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
There we go.
Promote yourself shamelessly.
Shameless, okay, this is shameless self-promotion time. So yes, I have a website. It is www.kateshenton.com. I have a Twitter, that wonderful thing, which is Kate_Shenton. And I have a Facebook page that you can like. And as I say, my second feature film, Egomaniac, will be out and about at some point this year. So definitely look out for it, because if you like all the shorts that you see, then you're going to love this.
Yeah, and please do check her stuff out, because it is very good. I enjoyed it anyway. And please, I just want to know if people agree with me or not.
You're not meant to say that in front of me. So are you
actually, before I was talking about I was going to meet you with Sydney Malik at Crypt TV.
Yeah.
And who was I chatting to? Jeez, I can't, such a bad person for names. I'm lucky I remember yours.
It's not like this is being recorded. It's fine. It's fine.
No, I'll dub it in later.
Just editing, a bit of tight editing. That's fine.
But no, I heard, but both the two guys both said to me, "Oh, you've got to check out Gimp. You've got to check out Gimp."
It's really funny because when I sent it around to festivals, no one would take it.
Oh,
no one would take this film.
It's
I think it's had a life afterwards. So I kind of, it got into like one festival in the UK, and then I kind of just kept it online and nothing really happened. And then all of a sudden now people are like, Gimp? Where has this film been? I'm just like, this was years ago. But yeah, it's lovely. It's really lovely to see that people are watching it and still loving it, because I love Gimp. It's one of my favourites.
She's talking again.
I'm sorry. Right, okay, let's stop. I'm going to stop talking now.
We're just going to be charged.
Just press the
sorry.
cut it off. Cut it off.
Sorry, but
press
she's
the
mum.
record button.
Let me finish. Right, give her a round of applause. Kate Shenton. Check us on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and love us just a little bit. Thanks very much for watching.
Easy.